Alright guys, welcome back to Edward Reads Books. This is week 2 of the things that I like to read, essentially. I'm sorry for the lack of uploads. There's been quite a lot going on over the last couple of weeks or so. A lot of things has happened and it's been quite a difficult time with a lot of things going on, but I won't go into that. So this episode is essentially about the books that I intend to read for fall or autumn, as we call it in the UK. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I'm going to potentially read. So obviously October's coming up and it's getting to the time where Halloween comes back around, and I'm looking for things that basically are going to pique my interest in terms of like scary stories or maybe dystopian novels. And I've just been looking basically in the bookshops for things to read, things that I'm very interested in. So anyway, so the current book that I'm reading at the minute, obviously, sorry, I'm just adjusting my chair. The thing that I'm reading at the minute is completely unrelated to anything scary. It's actually Tom Cheshire's Slow Trains to Istanbul. And this book is essentially just a travel book, and it's essentially by a rail enthusiast who basically, instead of using his carbon footprint and traveling on a plane to all of these different countries, decides to take a train from St. Pancras and go through basically most of Europe. And for a travel enthusiast like me, it was an incredibly, I'm only, let's see where I actually am into the book. I'm only 82 pages in, but it's been a really, really enjoyable read for me so far. And it's actually made me really want to travel to some of the places that he goes to in this book. There's a lot of countries that kind of really pique my interest, like Slovakia and Bulgaria. So he goes to places like Bratislava and Sofia. And for someone who's really into traveling, this is kind of like just the perfect, like, easy read. Something that doesn't really require that much like attention or anything. So it's been a really nice read for me, to be honest, to really kind of get stuck into this book. So that is Slow Trains to Istanbul by Tom Cheshire. And when I looked on Goodreads, not a lot of people had actually reviewed this book. So I was quite surprised, because the way it reads is it's really, really easy to read and just super interesting. Like, if you're really into traveling like me, it's literally the perfect book that you could pick up, really. Anyway, so yeah, that is Slow Trains to Istanbul by Tom Cheshire. In terms of things that I plan on reading for sort of the autumn fall period, if you're like me and you live in the UK, I live in the northeast of England, and the weather's slowly starting to get a lot kind of starting to get colder, and it's starting to get darker. And I'm in that period where I just want something kind of scary to read, and maybe something sort of dystopian, and something that's going to kind of really get me in that kind of, I don't know, Halloween sort of frame of mind. So I picked up 3 books. One of them was in Waterstones, which is, if you guys don't know, if you live in the US, it's just basically like a book, like a chain which sells books, a chain store that sells books. The other 2 I got in charity shops, and if you don't know, charity shops are essentially the equivalent of thrift stores in the US. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about them, basically. Okay, so the first one I picked up was Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. Now, I know from a couple of other YouTubers that Shirley Jackson has written a few really good kind of sort of thriller and horror books. I think the most famous one is We Have Always Lived in the Castle. And I think it was Nick Parry, Books Are Sick, that's kind of introduced me to this author. So I picked up The Haunting of Hill House. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this has been made into a feature film. And I have not seen the feature film, and I have not read the book. So I picked this up because I thought this would be a good kind of a book to read especially when it starts to get dark and it starts to get into that kind of Halloween period. And I just fancy reading something that's gonna kind of scare me a little or feel a little on edge, you know. So I picked this up. So I'll read the blurb to you guys and let me know what you think. So it says, alone in the world, Eleanor's delighted to take up Dr. Montague's invitation to spend a summer in the mysterious Hill House. Joining them are Theodora, an artistic sensitive, and Luke, heir to the house. But what begins as a light-hearted experiment is swiftly proven to be a trip into their darkest nightmares, and an investigation that one of their number may not survive. Acclaimed as one of the finest ghost stories of the 20th century and filmed twice as The Haunting, this is an unsettling examination of how fear can make us our own worst enemy. So I read the blurb of this, and I knew about Shirley Jackson anyway, and this completely piqued my interest, so it's just something that I had to pick up, and something that I'm really intrigued to read for October, and the Halloween period in general. So I'm looking forward to reading that. The next thing that I picked up, I actually bought this from the charity shop being like a thrift store in the US, the equivalent of a thrift store. I picked this up for £2, and this is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I love anything that is dystopian, anything that is like essentially an alternative world to the one that we're living in. It's something that just really, really interests me. Anything to do with like cults or strange societies, you know, it really, really piques my interest. So I picked this up. I know this has been made into a massive TV series that I actually will admit I haven't actually watched, but it's something that I probably should get around to watching. But this is something that I seen it in the charity shop, and I was like, I can't pass up the opportunity to not buy this, because I know it's something that I'll just find really, really interesting. So I'll read the blurb of this as well. So the Republic of Gilead offers Offred only one option: to breed. If she deviates, she will, like all dissenters, be hanged at the wall or sent out to die slowly of radiation sickness. But even a repressive state cannot obliterate desire, neither Offred's nor that of the two men on whom her future hangs. Brilliant conceived and executed, this powerful evocation of 21st century America gives full rein to Margaret Atwood's devastating irony, wit, and astute perception. Like I said, anything dystopian is right up my street, and I'm so excited to get around to reading this in October when it starts to get dark and the nights get dark very quickly and the weather changes. It's just something, you know, that I'm just really excited to read. So yeah, Margaret Atwood, The Handmaid's Tale, really looking forward to reading this. The third and final book that I'm going to talk about that I'm planning on reading for October is, and I might butcher this guy's name, so I apologise in advance, Jeffrey Eugenides. I'm going to keep that in there because that's quite funny how I've actually tried to pronounce his name. Eugenides. I don't know if I've probably completely butchered that name, and I apologise if you guys are like listening to this and are like, oh my god, that's awful. And that is The Virgin Suicides. Okay. I know that again that this has been made into like a feature film, and I again hold my hands up and say that I have not watched the film. I don't know anything about it. I know a little bit about the film, but not a lot. But again, this is something that I've heard is a very good read. And again, I'll read the blurb. So, the shocking thing about the girls was how nearly normal they seemed when their mother let them out for the one and only date of their lives. 20 years on, their enigmatic personalities are embalmed in the memories of the boys who worshipped them and who now recall their shared adolescence. The brasserie draped over a crucifix belonging to the promiscuous looks, the sisters' breathtaking appearance on the night of the dance, and the sultry, sleepy street across which they watch a family disintegrate and fragile lives disappear. This is a book that, again, I picked up for like £2, and it was something that I was really interested in reading. My brother actually had just watched the film and said that the film is excellent. I've not seen the film, I've not read the book, but this is just one that I have heard from other people and word of mouth that this is a good one to read, and that is The Virgin Suicides. So yeah, I'm going to get stuck into this at some point, so I look forward to that. So that is everything basically that I plan on reading for October and for the Halloween fall period. Anyways, guys, like, let me know if you've got any suggestions of things to watch or things to read, anything that you think that I would enjoy. Like I said, I like anything that's kind of dystopian or interesting. Yeah, so thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed the things that I'm going to read. And like I say, if you have any suggestions, please just let me know in the comments. I'd be really grateful for the feedback.